Hello guys and welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we are doing my League One predictions, my official and final League One predictions of 2023-2024. And this is the first league. It should be the Championship I'm doing first because of the fact that my club has just been promoted, of course. However, this is the league that I did in my own spare time that I managed to predict on World Football Net as well straight away. So we're going to start with League One for my predictions week this week. And then, of course, next week we'll be doing the Premier League predictions. So let's get on to it. '24th, Cambridge. I don't think they're going to do it this time. They pulled off the great escape last time out in 20th place. A brilliant escape from Mark Bonner's club. But this time, I don't think their squad is strong enough. Sam Smith is gone. Harvey Nibbs is gone. Joe Ironside is gone. Which means Jack Langster is all on his own at the front for the U's. Which means that there's a lot of rebuilding going on at the club. I just don't feel that the squad has enough to stay up this time, and I feel they will be in League Two this time out. Bonner has achieved great things at Cambridge, but after last term's dice with the drop, it's a big rebuild at the Abbey. Early business hasn't been hugely impressive on paper, so another dogfight could be in store. I feel finding a replacement for departing top scorer Sam Smith is very, very vital. I think it's going to be a hard one for Cambridge. 23rd, Northampton. I don't think their squad is strong enough, personally. John Brady will do everything he can to bring his team to at least stay up in the division for this season and save the Cobblers from being a constant yo-yo club between League One and League Two. But I don't think they have the squad depth, personally, which is also why I've got them second bottom. Signing Patrick Bruh from Barrow is a promising start, though. I have to give them that. And not many of their players have left. I just don't think they're going to have enough at the end. And I think they're going to lose out to clubs that I have ahead of them. 22nd, Cheltenham. Where do I start with Cheltenham? Apart from the fact that their talisman, Alfie May, has just departed for Charlton Athletic. Cheltenham, I think, are going to really struggle without him. Also, Ryan Broom has departed the club for Fleetwood, meaning Cheltenham have lost two of their key players. I don't think Cheltenham are going to have enough, just like Northampton and just like Cambridge. Coincidentally, they went up with Cambridge as well, but I don't think they're going to have enough. I really don't think they're going to have enough this time. Wade Elliott, I think, is in for a very difficult season for the Gloucestershire club. They chucked in a fair few no-shows last season, to be fair, but Alfie May's quality converted the better performances into results. But he's gone now. Meaning less leeway. This could honestly be a struggle. 21st, and the final relegation spot, Shrewsbury. Now, this is probably my first bold prediction so far, but I genuinely think Salop's summer has been an absolute chaos. It has been absolute catastrophe. Steve Cotterill, their promising manager, has departed the club. Their chief executive, Brian Caldwell, has departed the club as well. And also one of the best midfielders in the league, Luke Leahy, has departed for Wycombe. It has been a summer to absolutely forget for Shrewsbury, in my honest opinion. I think they're going to battle hard for survival though, but they could still do it, but considering that they finished mid-table last time out in 12th spots. Looking at Shrewsbury's summer, I just think they're going to absolutely look back at this thinking, we've really messed up here. Shrewsbury, for me, are going to be in League 2 for the first time since 2014. And I'll tell you what, it would be, for a club that's considered a League One club as well over the last few seasons with the football and style that Salop play, this would be seen as a huge disaster, especially because of the fact that Shrewsbury improved loads last season after they struggled the season before that, and also nearly went up to the Championship, losing that playoff final to Rotherham way back in 2018. 20th, Port Vale. Port Vale are the club that I think is going to pip Shrewsbury for survival and stay in League One for another season, despite losing one of their main centre-backs, Will Forrester, to Bolton during the summer. Port Vale have made some signings in Connor Ripley from Morecambe and Connor Grant from Plymouth Argyle, but Vale, I think, are only just going to do enough. Their manager, Darryl Clark, who left at the end of last season, has gone, which I thought was a ridiculous sacking, but I think the Valiants are going to do enough to stay up in League One for another season by the skin of their teeth. 19th, Stevenage. Stevenage have actually impressed me this summer transfer window, you know, and I also feel that a lot of people are just thinking they're going to go straight back down just because of the club size. Nonsense. Honestly, Stevenage's summer transfer window has really impressed me so far, including Ben Thompson from Peterborough and also Dan Butler, also from Peterborough coincidentally. But honestly, I think they're going to surprise a lot of people, to be honest. I really think they will. I really think they will. Considering that they're in League One for the first time since 2014. It's been a long while for them. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people and a lot of clubs into League One. Their signings have impressed me. They've kept hold of most of their key players from League 2. The skipper, Carl Piergiani, produced one of the greatest seasons ever seen by a League 2 centre-back as a solid team effort which took Stevenage up. Nick Freeman joins from Wycombe, hometown midfielder of course as well. And I think they're going to do it. I do think, considering up troubles elsewhere with other teams that I have below them, I think Steve Evans is going to pull it off. And I've been impressed by their summer transfer window as well. I think Stevenage are going to stay up. Solid 19th place at the end for them. 18th, Exeter. Our biggest rivals, the annoying cousins, the rotten cousins. I think Exeter are going to just have enough to stay up at the end. Despite there's been a lot of departures though during this summer. It has been a bit of a transfer disaster for Exeter. Archie Collins, their key midfielder, and in my opinion, their best player from last season, has gone to Peterborough. Jamal Blackman, their goalkeeper, has gone to Burton. Giovanni Brown has gone to Bristol Rovers. There's been rumours about Sam Nombe going to Charlton, but he is staying put with the club for the time being. Jack Sparks has gone to Portsmouth and Josh Key has gone to Swansea. Jake Caprice has gone to Burton. But I think they're only just going to stay up because I think other teams are going to be worse than them. I think they're going to have a much tougher season than the season before. I think Gary Caldwell has got a huge task ahead of himself in his first full season at Exeter this season. Other players such as Dimitri Mitchell, Will Aimson, they've kept. Sam Nombe is there for the time being, but if he goes, Exeter could be in big trouble. But I think they're only just going to do enough to stay up at the end. There's been a lot of crucial departures from the club, but head of recruitment Marcus Flitcroft will be as pivotal as ever as Caldwell's side intend to build on a positive first season up. Poaching vibrant 22-year-old wing-back Vincent Harper from Eastleigh was a great move towards achieving that goal, to be fair. 17th, Carlisle. Now, you know you're always in for a tough task when you come up as playoff winners. They've kept hold of their superb goalkeeper, Thomas Holy, who's going to be coming up to League One this season, who I highly rate. I think that's going to be a huge boost into Paul Simpson's season. Although, the downside being is that Christian Dennis, has rejected a contract, their top scorer from last season, that helped them get promoted and has now moved on to join Tranmere Rovers. But I'll tell you what, I think their squad is going to be buzzing to being back in League One after years and years of being out of it. I think they're going to be dark horses to avoid the drop. 17th. Especially that if their star midfielder, Owen Moxon, stays, he'll need to be at his best every single week if they want a huge chance of staying up. 16th, Wigan. Last season was infuriating, frustrating and totally unnecessary. 2 bosses sacked midway through the campaign, failing to pay wages on schedule not once but 5 times, huge overspending and points deductions that resulted in relegation. Yep, that's right, Wigan are back in League One yet again. And to make it even worse for them, Wigan are starting this season on -8 for a points deduction. So Wigan's got a lot of upheaval to make up ground for. But I think they're just going to do enough to be fine and overhaul that -8 points deduction. Will Keane may have departed the club for Preston North End, their top scorer, and the top scorer from when they were champions of League One in 21-22. The Latics have found financial stability with a takeover complete, wages now officially paid and debt settled. Sean Maloney still has that 8-point deduction to negotiate, but after he galvanised the club last season, especially that their end of form was actually very impressive, a surge into mid-table is possible if they could use that as motivation. 15th, Fleetwood. This was probably my hardest prediction, if anything, and I think the one I feel extremely harsh on the most, because I'm very impressed with what Fleetwood have first of all did last season, and second of all, what they've tried to build on this summer. Fleetwood's summer transfer window includes Danny Mayer from us, Plymouth, Ryan Broom, another former player of ours, from Cheltenham, and Scott Brown has proved that he's a quality manager in League One, and they finished bang on mid-table last time out in 13th place after fighting for relegation the season before. When they've got Jayden Stockley up front, Jack Marriott also up front, Sean Rooney they've kept as well, their star right back. The only downside is losing Carlos Mendes Gomez to Bolton, but Fleetwood, this was such a hard prediction for me. I think they're only slightly going to just do a little bit worse than the season before. And I knew out of one of my dark horses, one of them was going to be a bit lower than the others I had. And that ended up being the Cod Army. This was a really hard prediction for me. Although, to be fair, owner Piley's legal battles, I think, have hindered preparations. And I think for that reason alone, I think it's going to slightly hinder the squad a bit. But Fleetwood will do just enough fine, regardless for the season. 14th, Wycombe. Despite losing Lewis Wing, one of their star players, to Reading, Wycombe, I think, is going to have a slightly worse season than the last 2 seasons before, finishing in 6th in the playoffs and 9th just outside the playoffs. But again, I actually have been impressed with some of their transfer window after they've signed Luke Leahy from Shrewsbury, Shrewsbury's best player of last season, who is now signed for the Chairboys. A huge signing for Matt Bloomfield. Kane Vincent-Young joins from Ipswich, as does Richard Keogh. Joe Lowe joined from Bristol City. Lewis Wing joining Reading may be a big blow, especially to one of their biggest rivals. But the reason why I think Wycombe's going to be bottom half, only just, is because I don't know if I can trust Matt Bloomfield as their manager. Ever since he started managing for the club when he joined from Colchester, and Wycombe's form went drastically wrong after Gareth Ainsworth left to join QPR. But it wouldn't surprise me if Bloomfield was one of the first managerial casualties of the season, and then Gareth Ainsworth ends up coming back, considering you'll find out this week where I have QPR in my championship predictions. But yeah, I think Wycombe's going to struggle a little bit this season and drop off a little bit. Some people think they'll battle playoffs. They definitely still can have the opportunities to battle for playoffs with the team they have, such as Ryan Tafazoli, Max Strauch, their brilliant goalkeeper, David Wheeler, Josh Scowen, Gareth McCleary. Of course, they lost Anis Mehmeti to Bristol City back in January, their star player. But I think I think Wycombe's going to drop off a little bit, but they'll be well clear of the drop and surviving. 13th, Leyton Orient, the last club to complete the bottom half of the table. I feel like if they continue the absolute magicalness they had under their manager in League 2 from last season, then I reckon Wellens' side is going to be absolutely well and truly up for it for League 1 this season. I think Richie Wellens is going to give Orient and the league the rest of the league a really hard time. Maybe losing Lawrence Vigorau to Burnley and Paul Smith to QPR is a big blow. But I think Dan Aguier from Crewe and Ethan Galbraith from Manchester United I think are excellent signings. Joe Pigott on a free transfer from Ipswich on the other hand as well. Orient I think are going to keep the momentum that they showed in League 2. That absolutely had blasted League 2 apart. A lot of people will see them as just a survive tag. But if they continue how they did in League 2 throughout last season, I think Orient is going to well and truly shock a few clubs coming into this season. And from their point of view, they're going to be glad they're back in League 1. They may have lost their 2-star men in goal and attack. But Omar Beckles and Darren Pratley, they both stay on. The two old heads at the club stay on. If they keep the momentum that their manager, their board and their fans can see, I can genuinely see them comfortably finish mid-table. 12th, Lincoln. This was probably my other really harsh prediction, considering for parts of June, I was tempted to put Lincoln in the playoffs. And I really think with the squad they have and the way last season was for them under Mark Kennedy's first season in charge, I really think they can push for playoffs this season. Lucas Jensen, their new keeper from Burnley, will have a job in his hands though to replace the excellent Carl Rushworth. But with other sides I had predicted above Lincoln, I think they're only just going to miss out on the playoff push at the end and end up once again in mid-table. But overall, a solid season regardless. They've also lost Regan Poole to Portsmouth, but in return they've signed Pompey's Rico Hackett-Fairchild. But either way, I may think the Imps will finish 12th, but I still think they're going to give the playoffs a huge go this season because I know how well they can play and I know how defensively strong they can genuinely be. 11th, Reading, my personal underachievers for 2023-24 League 1. If they finish 11th, it will remind me of when Ipswich did it themselves in 2019-20 when they first came down to League 1. The positives, maybe Ruben Selles as their new manager, Lewis Wing signing for the club from their rivals Wycombe, well, not necessarily rivals, but whatever, Thames Valley, they're close enough. Sam Smith from Cambridge has also signed for the Royals, but I think they're going to fall short. There's also been a big talking point about their owner, who has increasingly lost the fans' faith due to mismanagement and charges from the Football League. And Reading fans, I know, will hope he will sell up ASAP. I reckon they're going to fall short, but I think they're going to fall short a lot lower than what I thought. Tom Ince is also gone, one of their star players from last season, and they started pre-season with a wafer-thin squad and off-field concerns. I think the Royals aren't going to bounce back straight away. I don't see them bouncing back straight away. And I see them underperforming this season and adjust themselves to League 1 for another season. 10th, Bristol Rovers. Last season, I predicted them as my surprise of the season to finish coincidentally in 10th. That didn't quite happen. They fell a lot shorter than that and finished in 17th. But this time, I genuinely think they once again will finish in 10th. For a second successive season, I'm very impressed with the signings Joey Barton's made, including Giovanni Brown from Exeter, one of our centre-backs who was brilliant for us last season, James Wilson from Plymouth Argyle. He's joined Bristol Rovers. Luke Thomas has joined from Barnsley. George Friend has joined from Birmingham. And the main aim for Bristol Rovers this summer has been keeping hold of star striker Aaron Collins. And they have exactly just done that. Considering with other clubs that I'm very optimistic for this season, I think Rovers are going to battle for playoffs, but I think they are, just like Reading, are going to fall short. They're catching the eye with a young, vibrant side, but the gas might need a touch more know-how, mainly in defence. But I think The fact that they've reinvested wisely, I think, so far. Also, I'm very impressed with their pre-season so far, beating Swansea 2-0 away as well. But if they continue to reinvest wisely, a top half finish is very attainable. And I can genuinely see that happening. I think they're in for a strong season this season. There were also parts of last season where I really thought they were playoff contenders. 9th, Barnsley. If only if the Tykes had kept hold of manager Michael Duff and captain Mads Anderson, this would have been a lot different. Especially after what I saw in the playoff final versus South Yorkshire neighbours Sheffield Wednesday. After that playoff final, I thought Barnsley were going to go straight up for this season with the squad and team they have after the way they played and performed and united their fans and team together from last season. But now I think it's gone horribly, horribly wrong for them. Michael Duff has gone to Swansea. Mads Anderson has gone to Luton in the Premier League. And there's been a lot of uncertainty at Oakwell this summer. It hasn't been very pretty one bit. Most of their star players are still there, such as Luke O'Connell, James Norwood, Devante Cole, Nicky Cadden, Herbie Kane. But I think other teams that have got finished ahead of Barnsley have strengthened, and they haven't. And of course, them losing their two main people in Anderson and Duff. Losing Michael Duff is a huge blow in my opinion. I hope Barnsley prove me wrong though, because I really like Barnsley as a club. And Michael Duff was a brilliant manager. In my opinion, he was manager of the season last season behind Shuey. But we'll see what happens with the Tykes this season. I don't know if I can trust their new manager, Neil Collins, to steady the ship and bring Barnsley straight back up or even get into playoffs. And also, his only experience as a manager was at American professional football team St. Petersburg in Florida. So I don't know how this season is going to work for the Tarn. Let me know what you think in the comment section, Barnsley fans, because I really think with Duff and Anderson gone, I think it's a huge, huge blow. And with other teams strengthening and getting what they feel they wanted, that's why I've also got Barnsley to finish in 9th. But let me know what you think. Because this was a hard prediction for me. But I have gone bold on this one. And Barnsley, along with Reading, are my underperformers for this season. 8th, Peterborough. Darren Ferguson knows how to get into the Championship, so this could be seen as a bit of a low prediction. However, I think the competition is going to be, first of all, really strong. And second of all, I think also there's going to be some dark horses that I've put just ahead of the Posh. There's also a lot of uncertainty that Johnson Clark-Harris will be departing the club this summer. Joe Ward has gone to Derby. They've signed Archie Collins, though, from Exeter, which is a brilliant signing for Peterborough. But I think they're just going to fall short with who I have in the top 6. But Darren Ferguson, I wouldn't be surprised if they finish in the top 6 yet again. Because you know what he's like, and you know what Peterborough's been like recently, especially between the Championship and League One. Ferguson's impact after rejoining couldn't quite earn him a fifth promotion with the Posh, due to that playoff collapse against Sheffield Wednesday. But the club are now opting for a younger squad. Of course, Archie Collins signing from Exeter, standing out. But their experienced gaffer will keep them competitive, that's for sure. 7th, and having playoff heartbreak, Oxford. Well, I actually had Oxford to finish 7th last time as well, but that didn't quite happen at the end, as Oxford had such an underperforming season by finishing in 19th. But this time, I think they'll do much better. Carl Robinson didn't help their cause one bit last season. Liam Manning came in, saved the club from going down to League Two. And Liam Manning, to be fair, is back in a full season again, and he knows how to get a football club in the playoffs, like he did with MK Dons in 2022. Oxford, I think, will be much better this season than what they did last season, and I think they'll be back to where they were battling for playoffs back in 2022, when they also narrowly missed out by finishing in 8th. I think the recruitment has been really good. I think Ruben Rodriguez from Notts County is an excellent signing. And they've kept most of their players. Cameron Brannigan, their star player, from all these last few seasons is still there. Simon Eastwood is still their goalkeeper. Oxford, I think, will have a much better season than the season before. Matty Taylor has gone to Forest Green, which is a little bit of a blow. But either way, I think Oxford are well and truly going to bounce back this time. Also, like Bristol Rovers, I've been very impressed with Oxford's pre-season as well. And I think they'll be right back up there again this season after the disaster of last season. But I think they're just going to heartbreakingly miss out and, without further ado, being put with another season of League One for 24-25. Oxford, for me, are the big if. They're either going to really perform and get back to where they were all these years ago, even when they were superb in 2020, when they heartbreakingly lost that playoff final to Wycombe, or they're going to continue underperforming and they're going to be right in a relegation scrap. But I personally think that last season was a one-off for them, and I think they're going to bounce back after the absolute underachieving they had. I think what happened with Oxford was that they sacked Carl Robinson way too late. It was clear that he was the problem from last season, which was really disappointing considering where he's taken Oxford all these few years. Liam Manning has now steadied that ship, but I think they're going to do a lot better this season. Recruitment looks collaborative this summer. Ruben Rodriguez signing, Josh McEachran from MK Dons, local lad, signing as well. The attacking midfielders could help the Yellows return to playoff contention after last year's slump. Moving on to the playoffs. 6th, Burton. Burton, it's official. Burton are my both dark horses of this season and my surprise of the season. Dino Mamria, what he did at the end of last season was absolutely incredible, which kept Burton up at the end of the day from what was a disastrous first half of the season. But that second half of the season form looked like playoff contending. Also, Burton fans have been excited about this team and this summer and said it's the best Burton team ever since they were last in the Championship all those years ago. Cole Stockton's joined from relegated Morecambe. Jamal Blackman's joined from Exeter. The only two downsides is losing Connor Shaughnessy to Portsmouth and Terry Taylor to Charlton, who I've got actually ahead of Burton, coincidentally. But signing Cole Stockton, Jamal Blackman, Raheem Harper, I think that's going to be really crucial for Burton coming into this season. But I knew I was going to have a bold surprise somewhere during this predictions. And Burton really impressed me at the end of last season. They're really impressing me right now. I think they're really going to be ones to watch. And I can see Burton sneak 6th off both Oxford and Peterborough for that final playoff spot. They are my dark horses for League One in every single way for this season. The Brewers are going to be ones to watch. Drink it in if they do genuinely get into the playoffs. 5th, Blackpool. Neil Critchley is back at the club that won the playoff final in 2021 over Lincoln. And also, out of the 3 relegated Championship sides, I feel Blackpool is by far the most comfortable out of the 3, considering Reading's ownership problems and Wigan's points deduction. Blackpool, I think, will instantly get playoffs immediately, straight back into this division. And I know how yo-yo they've actually have been these last few seasons between the Championship and League One. I haven't been hugely impressed with their transfer window, though. They may have signed Richard O'Donnell from Rochdale, Oliver Norburn from Peterborough, Matthew Pennington from Shrewsbury. But they have sold some players as well from their old squad, such as Kessie Anderson, Luke Garbutt, Reece James has officially gone to Sheffield Wednesday, Curtis Nelson's gone, and Jerry Yates, their main striker, has gone to Swansea, which I think is a big blow for the Seasiders. But nevertheless, with the team and squad they have, and most of that team still being from the Championship, I think they'll be absolutely fine to immediately get into the playoffs. I don't think they'll be good enough for automatics, but I think they'll be absolutely comfortable in to secure playoffs, basically. Blackpool should be top 6, in my honest opinion, and Neil Critchley knows how to do that as well. Also, Blackpool's record in the playoffs is absolutely amazing, so better watch out for them. 4th, Portsmouth. Pompey, along with the top 3 I have, will be the 4 main contenders for the League One promotion this season, in my opinion. Pompey, I have been absolutely very impressed with their transfer window. Christian Sadie has joined, who was at Shrewsbury last season. Anthony Scully from Wigan. Will Norris, Peterborough's keeper from last season, is now Pompey's number 1. Connor Shaughnessy from Burton. Jack Sparks from Exeter. Regan Paul from Lincoln. The only downsides is losing Clark Robertson and Ryan Tunnicliffe, but they have kept most of their squad. John Mousinho is a very underrated manager, and they've signed some very interesting players there. They've kept hold of top scorer Colby Bishop, who I've put down as one of the league's top scorers this season. Marlon Pack is the new captain. Joe Morrell is also in that midfield for Pompey. I really think they are genuinely going to be ones to watch this season. And considering the amount of years they've been in League One, this really is their best chance to go up this season, considering how much weaker the League One has got this season, with Plymouth, Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday all going up to the Championship. 3 teams that Pompey were battling with at the start of last season, until their form completely collapsed and Danny Cowley got the sack. This time it'll be different, and that's why John Mousinho will want to prove a point to all the doubters that think that Pompey will finish outside of the playoffs again. Business has been left field, but highly regarded sporting director Richard Hughes values thinking outside the box, and he did that to poach Mousinho from Oxford, who managed 39 points from 23 games. From that, gets you in the mix. And it looks like they're keeping Colby as well. Pompey, for me, will finally be back in the playoffs this season. But will they go up? That's going to be a huge thing to see about. And that answer is indeed yes. Pompey are my predicted playoff winners for this season. I think they are finally going to be back in the Championship after all these horror stories of being in League One for so long now. Pompey, I feel this will be the season they finally do it. And the team that I've got in third will be who I reckon Pompey's going to have in the playoff final against. Third, Charlton. Despite losing Albie Morgan to Blackpool, Ryan Innes to Forest Green and Sean Clare to Wigan, this is, in my opinion, the best transfer window from a League One club so far this summer. Charlton have really impressed me this summer. They've got new ownership back-ins. Dean Holden, I personally think, is one of the most underrated managers in the entire league. They've signed Harry Isted, who was Barnsley's number 1 keeper last season. I forgot to say that's another player Barnsley won't get back this season. Lloyd Jones has signed from Cambridge. Alfie May has been brought in from Cheltenham. Tayo Eden's been brought in from Blackburn. And Terry Taylor from Burton. Charlton are also on the verge of signing Sam Nombe from Exeter. He is very well rumoured to join the Addicts at the Vale. Charlton have a new ownership. The manager, I think, is going to be backed. They're going to be my third place, and they're going to push my top 2 all the way, I reckon. I just think Charlton is going to lose playoff final heartbreak to Pompey at Wembley. But it could so easily go either way, because Charlton, first of all, their record against Portsmouth is absolutely incredible. Second of all, they've won the playoff final more recently than Pompey have, back in 2019. Pompey have never won at Wembley. Their record at Wembley is shocking. However, I genuinely think this playoff final will go to penalties, and I think Pompey's going to edge it on penalties. But it could so easily go the other way, because I was really debating on whether who I think will go up out of Portsmouth or Charlton. One of these two can easily go up to the Championship next season, in my honest opinion. Charlton may have lost Raksaki, who I thought was one of the greatest wingers of last season in League One. He's going to be hugely needing replacing, but I'm very impressed with Charlton's transfer window, and Sam Nombe could be Raksaki's replacement. Also, Panucci Kamara's joined the club from Ipswich, who was, of course, one of Plymouth Argyle's mainstream midfielders from the 21-22 season before he joined the Tractor Boys. And I think that's a huge signing for the Addicts as well. I think Charlton's going to heartbreakingly lose that playoff final, but it could so easily go either way. And I think this club is going to push Derby and Bolton all the way to the end, I reckon, for this season. Second, Bolton. Bolton are going up this season, in my opinion. James Trafford being replaced may take a bit of time to get used to in the team, but they've replaced him with Nathan Baxter, who's on loan from Chelsea. But I think Bolton will have just enough to do it with the team they have in Dion Charles, Aaron Morley. Connor Bradley may have gone back to Liverpool, but I think they'll be absolutely fine. I've been more impressed with Charlton's transfer window than Bolton's, but some Bolton signings I've been very excited about, such as Carlos Mendes Gomez from Luton, who of course was at Fleetwood last season. But with the team Bolton had and the way they dismantled us 4-0 at Wembley back in April, and Ian Evatt as a manager has got better and better and better ever since Bolton got promoted from League 2 in 2021. And I think Bolton are currently on the up right now. The Trotters, for me, are returning to the Championship for 2024-25. First and League One champions, Derby. Derby are the favourites for this season, to put it bluntly. Everybody knows that. The media knows that. The bookies know that. They are the absolute clear favourites for this season. But that's not really mainly the reason why I think the Rams are going to win the league this season. First of all, Paul Warne missed out on the playoffs last season by the skin of his teeth to Peterborough, which reminds me of the way we missed playoffs to Wycombe in 2022, and Steven Schumacher kicked ass and got revenge. Paul Warne knows how to get promoted as well. He's done it before with Rotherham. I think he's going to do it as well with Derby. He's obviously clearly moved from the Millers to the Rams as he sees a future and a project at Derby County, in my honest opinion. David McGoldrick, Derby's best player and probably the best striker in the league last season, may have gone to Notts County right now. But regardless, despite that, I think the Rams are still going to win the league, no problem, with the team they have in general. Also, Derby have signed players and have had a transfer window that's basically on par with a Championship club, with where us Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday are right now. Kane Wilson's joined from Bristol City. Sonny Bradley, one of our legends at Argyle, is joined from Luton. They've signed Joe Ward from Peterborough, which is a huge bonus for Derby and a big blow for the Posh. Curtis Nelson's joined from Blackpool. Derby are the clear favourites, but I think the way they missed out last season and the fact that they've got over their troubles from the season before, I think they're going to want to kick ass, and I think Paul Warne is going to want absolute revenge this season from last season, just like what Shuey did with us last season after that 5-0 defeat to MK Dons. That is why I think Derby County will win League One this season, and why I think Derby will be in the Championship for 24-25. I mean, the squad just speaks for it itself as well, that they're definitely going to be up there. Joe Wildsmith, Irene Cashin, one of the best centre-backs in the league last season. Connor Hurahan, another one of our legends at Argyle. Nathaniel Mendez-Lang, he tore Argyle apart in the 2 games that he played against us. And you know what? I think Derby is going to do exactly what we did, get revenge on what happened the season before, and they'll go on and win the league. And Paul Warne knows how to get promoted. So there you are. Derby, for me, are going to win League One next season. So there you have it. That is my EFL League One predictions of 2023-24. Thank you so much for listening to this. And now for the second half of the video, we're going to show you worldfootball.net of the table round by round on what I genuinely think. Cheers for watching this, guys. Up the Janners, up the Greens, up the Argyle, up the Pilgrims, up the Plymouth. Come on, you boys in green.